out to me, waiting on a feathered snake to take me to a better place.
Yeah, and then you can edit it afterward, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right. You're not from Philadelphia, are you?
No.
Either am I. I'm from Syracuse, New York, originally. Grew up in Syracuse, lived in the Hudson Valley. I didn't move to Philadelphia until 1986. But I love Philadelphia, and I always wanted to live in a big city. New York was a little bit out of my price range, so when a job opportunity came up in Philadelphia, I took it in '86. So I've been here, I don't know, however long. That makes it 26 years or so, coming up probably on. And so first I had to find a neighborhood to live in. Philadelphia's a city of neighborhoods. So I spent a few weekends. I come here, stay in a hotel and then just cruise around looking for, where I could rent an apartment. And people told me to look in the Mount Airy section, was recommended to me. But I found a house to rent on McCallum Street near Johnson Street, and that's still Germantown. It's a great little house. I loved it. In fact, the people that owned the house, he was a film professor at Temple, and the situation was that he was going to go to. He and his wife were going to Temple, Tokyo. He was going to teach there for a year, and he needed somebody to watch the house. You on, or we okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just making sure.
And so I lived there for a year until they came back, and really loved it. Now I'm trying. So I lived in Germantown for a year that first year, and I liked it. I didn't get to know the neighborhood all that well, but I liked it. It was Germantown, Mount Airy. There was a pretty good folk music scene. There was a little folk club there, and some of the churches. I remember seeing Odetta in Germantown. You know who Odetta was? Odetta was a great folk and blues singer. Yeah, it was wonderful. So there's that kind of scene there in Germantown. They used to have a blues society too. They had house concerts. I mean, it was old school.
Oh, wow.
So then I moved to, I found an apartment up here in Center City, which was closer to where I worked. So I lived at, I think it was, first of all, I lived at 2106 and then 2104 Spruce Street. Really nice neighborhood. Brownstones, Rittenhouse Square area. I hit the big time. It was nice. Well, I had a small apartment. It was still reasonable then. You could rent an apartment reasonably.
Yeah, it's nice.
Enjoyed that. I enjoyed Rittenhouse Square a lot. I worked down at 4th and Market, which is Old City, which has now become, I'm talking now still in the 80s. It was not developed then. It was still the old warehouses and whatever, many of them sort of in disrepair, whatever. It was not what it is today. So if you're talking about neighborhoods in change, certainly Rittenhouse Square has always been, in pretty good shape and has a nice reputation. It's beautiful, high end. But down near 4th and Market and 2nd Market, maybe you know that area now because it's, there's clubs and places where young people do like to hang out. Back then, it was still pretty rough. It was post-industrial, but it hadn't become artistic yet. So now, if you go down that way, you'll see that a lot of those places are artist lofts and galleries, and nice restaurants, and whatever. Let's see. When I lived at 2104 Spruce, our daughter was born. My daughter Lillian, she's 21 now. She goes to Temple as well. I think I told you.
Yeah.
And but the apartment was too small then for the three of us, and we found a house to rent again. Somebody that was going overseas to do some teaching or whatever, and this was in that section of South Philly known as Queen Village. So it was 2nd and Catherine Street. I think it was 217 Catherine. Really nice house. Had a deck on the back. You could see the fireworks over Penn Landing. It's a great little neighborhood, close to South Street, but not too close, so it wasn't too noisy or whatever. It was it was very pleasant there. And that was a neighborhood that then had gone through, maybe I'd say like 75% of a gentrification process. And then I guess as the economy goes up and down, sometimes it stops.
Yeah.
So, it was very nice. A lot of the houses had been redone. The one I lived in included, right, with the deck and all of that. It was really nice. But they're also, you could see where it stopped as well. It just halted for whatever reason. But a nice neighborhood. Now, Second Street, of course, they call 2 Street. If you're South Philadelphia and whatever. So I got to see the mummers parades and all of that. And from there, Lillian, the baby then becomes older, around 4 or 5, and this is a classic Philadelphia move, because as people's children approach school age, there's a huge decision that people need to make, and that's do I really want to navigate the Philadelphia public school district, which can be kind of tough. There are some wonderful schools here, but a lot of them aren't, and it takes a lot of parental attention to make sure that your kid has a good experience in a Philadelphia public school. We, like many people, opted to move out, and we moved up to Cheltenham, which is just north of, if you take Broad Street as far north as you can, turns into Montgomery County, that's Cheltenham Township.
Okay.
Has a very good school district there, and the next one north of that is Abington, maybe even better school district. So we moved up there, and lived there for now quite a while.
Yeah.
And but interestingly, the kids, now I'm going to close the loop. Both of my daughters, now we had another daughter when we were up there, so both of my daughters end up going to school in Philadelphia at a private school, Germantown Friends School. So they're back in the Germantown area.
And what about like transition, like walking from one area to another when it gets terrible?
Yeah, or if not terrible, it's different. It is amazing.
Quick changes.
There's quick changes, and even living in Rittenhouse Square at 20th and Spruce, you'd say, my God, there's no better neighborhood in Philadelphia. But if you go 2-3 blocks south of that, you can get into neighborhoods that are dangerous again, or somewhat dangerous. More recently, where I see it is like, I could be driving from Cheltenham and you go through, I'm going to go to Germantown Friends School, drop the kids off. So you're going through some pretty rough neighborhoods there in Germantown. But if I keep going, I end up in East Falls. Again, beautiful, gorgeous neighborhood. And then you keep going and you get up in Roxborough, which I think is one of the best neighborhoods in Philadelphia. Safe, but very working class, very blue collar, and it's on the other side of Fairmount Park, so it kind of separates it from some of the neighborhoods that might be considered more inner city. So yeah, I mean, if you drive or walk or bike through the city, you will see rather drastic transitions. Now, if you're going to Temple University, if you start to go off the edges, you'll go into neighborhoods you don't even think you're in America anymore, right? I mean, you're in a third world country where it's really, been abandoned and neglected, and I think very, very, very unfortunately, because when you see things happen in Philly, people are outraged. I don't know why we should be surprised at all.